The Chicago Bears have signed wide receiver David Moore and cornerback Greg Stroman Jr. to one-year contracts. What's going on, guys? I'm back with another Chicago Bears free agency update video. If you guys want more videos of me reacting to Bears news, definitely be sure to subscribe to my channel. I'll be reacting to all the latest Bears signings. And today we have some probably depth signings. These are not really, obviously well-known guys, guys that have produced, big time in the NFL so far, but it is decent depth to have, on the roster at both wide receiver and at cornerback. And obviously we have to get up to 90 men on the roster for training camp, so we're going to need to add more people to this roster, and a lot of them are going to be depth players because we only have 6 draft picks this year. There's going to be a handful of undrafted free agents too, but going to be a couple more of these cheap one-year signings, and let me break them down for you. So I'll start by talking about David Moore, the wide receiver. He was drafted by the Seattle Seahawks in the 2017 draft as a 7th round draft pick, and he actually got a decent amount of playing time with the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously wasn't like a number 1 or number 2 option, but sometimes as a 3, sometimes as a 4. He put up pretty decent numbers. Okay, nothing out of this world amazing, but as a depth receiver, he did make a handful of plays for the Seattle Seahawks. If I read you guys his stats, so rookie year he didn't play, but then 2018 he had 445 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns. Next year 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. After that, 2020, he had 417 yards and 6 touchdowns. And as you can see, the yards per reception was pretty high as well at 14.9 yards per reception. So he was making big plays going down the field. Okay, every time he did make a play, it was it was mostly stretching the field and getting receptions of like 20, 30 plus yards. Okay, that's where he was used in the Seattle Seahawks offense. And it makes sense because he is a fast guy, man. Okay, he ran a 4.43 40-yard dash back in 2017 coming out of East Central College. He's 6 foot tall, weighs 219 pounds, so definitely a big, strong guy. And, with Russell Wilson, guys, what are Russell Wilson's skill sets as a passer? It's mainly pushing the football down the field. His deep ball accuracy is the best part of his arsenal, and that's the best part of Justin Fields' arsenal as well, guys. Okay, his ability to push the ball down the field. Hopefully we have the offensive line in front of him to buy time for him to do that. But if we can get more guys like this, guys that are fast, explosive, also through the draft, but even a depth guy like this and David Moore, I think this is a pretty good addition to the offense because it fits what Luke Getsy wants to run here in Chicago. Okay, a lot of play action, a lot of stretching the field, taking shots, and that's what really benefits Justin Fields' skill set. So I think that overall, obviously, he hasn't done too much in the NFL up to this point. Last year, he didn't really play at all. He was spending time with the Packers and with the Broncos. So he did get some time working with Luke Getsy, probably, I think, on practice squad, though. So he didn't really play on the main Packers squad. Didn't really appear in any games, but he did have some time working with Luke Getsy. So maybe that's why the Bears did bring him in, because of that connection with Luke Getsy. But it obviously doesn't hurt to add more depth at receiver because right now we don't have much depth at receiver at all. And getting a guy that has produced at least a little bit for the Seahawks, that's probably a pretty decent addition. Next guy then, Greg Stroman Jr., the cornerback. I think he's mainly going to be depth on this team. Probably won't make the roster in my opinion, at least as of now. Obviously you can prove me wrong by having a good training camp, but he hasn't really shown much in the NFL up to this point. So he's 26 years old. He was drafted back in 2018 in the 7th round by the Washington football team coming out of Virginia Tech. He had a pretty decent pro day, ran a 4.48 40-yard dash. He's 5'11", weighs 182 pounds, so decent athlete. I think that's why the Bears are even bringing him in because, they have stated that they want athletes on this team, especially at these skill positions like cornerback and at wide receiver. So far in the NFL, he hasn't really played that much besides special teams. He did play special teams for Washington, when he was with them. He was also with the Buffalo Bills and with the LA Rams last year, but only on practice squads, so didn't really appear in any games last year. And if you look at his stats, he's only started 3 games so far in the NFL at cornerback, in which he did have 1 interception in one of them, which is pretty cool, and also a forced fumble too. So very limited playing time up to this point, so I really don't know what to say about this guy because you can't really judge what he's done because there's no tape to judge him on. So it's basically depth guys, basically just a cam body, and who knows, maybe it turns into something that we don't expect. But that's pretty much all I want to talk about in this video. Those 2 signings, not very flashy signings, not guys that I think are going to be big contributors on this team, but maybe depth at the very best, or at least, camp bodies that we're going to see in training camp this July. So let me know what you guys think about these signings down below in the comments. But as always, bear down.